In the last video, we set up automatic cache expiration, but this really does not solve all problems that we might run into around expiring records. For example, adding this expiration of 10 seconds or say 50 seconds or whatever we might want it to be really doesn't solve the problem where we look at a list of blog posts, create a new post, come back to this list, and then expect it to appear. Remember, your user is going to expect data to automatically appear on the screen, and they will not want to wait for some cache expiration to kick in. So we clearly need some way to programmatically or like forcibly kick wide areas or tremendous amounts of data that is stored inside of Redis. But preferably, we would not do it by just resetting everything inside there. That's definitely not a good solution, because if we have many people creating records inside of our application at the same time, we would not want to blow away our cache for everyone any time a single record is created. So to solve this problem, we're going to go back to one topic that we spoke about when we first started looking at Redis. So first, let me give you a quick reminder of how we are currently storing information in Redis by using a cache key. So at present, we take our query parameters, or kind of whatever ways we have customized a query. We then add in the collection name, we stringify the whole thing, and we use that as our collection key. So in this example right here, you'll see that I have a query to users looking for ID 1, a query to blogs with user of ID 1, and then, so these two right here might be like one user, and then I've got a query over to blogs looking for all blogs belonging to user 2. So these are all kind of like flatly stored, or they're all stored at the root level inside of Redis. So I'm going to show you one possible way to solve our issue here. I'm going to show you one possible way to very easily reset kind of like a slice of our cache that belongs to a single user. Now the reason I say this is one particular way is that the application I set up just happened to easily fit into this kind of methodology of killing a section of cache. But you might work on a project of your own where this methodology will not quite work out. Okay, so I just want you to keep that in mind. This is kind of something about caching to keep in mind in general, is that caching from project to project is always going to change slightly. Just be aware of that. Okay, anyways, let me show you what we're going to do here. So I'm going to propose that we re-implement our cache storage schema. And we say that rather than implementing like a completely flat data store where we have just simple key value pairs, we should instead store all of our data for each user in separate nested hashes. So maybe at the very top level, we have a bunch of keys organized by different user IDs inside of our application. So this would be the key for ID, user with ID 1. We would only store the ID here. I only put in user ID just to make sure the 1 had some meaning. So I'm going to change that to 1 now. And this would be like user with ID 2 right here. And then nested inside that would be all the different cache values that belong to that particular user. Now this would be very convenient for our current setup, because now anytime that some user creates a new blog post, I could very easily look at all the keys that are associated with the user who just created that blog post and blow away all the nested values that are assigned inside of here. So if user with ID 1 creates a new blog post, I could take all their records that are stored inside of here, or all the records stored inside of Redis, and just delete them all. So now user with ID 2 still has all their cache intact, and we haven't touched that at all. But user with ID 1 is going to have to retouch the database for all the different queries that they need to make. So in other words, they're going to get fresh data directly from MongoDB. So I think you can kind of imagine why this is a solution that really just works on this app. And maybe some others, but it really comes down to a particular app thing. For example, let's imagine that the user with ID 1 right here could also create blog posts that are visible to user 2. Well, if user 1 then create a new blog post, we would have to delete all of their cache, and then also somehow figure out that we need to say, okay, this person, user ID 1, also can show blog post to 2, so we need to make sure that we blow away their cache as well. Now that's kind of a contrived example, but I think you can imagine that as soon as there's a little bit more dependencies between data, this strategy might not quite work out so well. So again, all I'm really trying to say here is that before you use exactly this strategy on your project, kind of think about how you're going to actually implement it. Okay, so let's pause right here. We're going to come back in the next video and we're going to start to implement this kind of nested strategy and then figure out some way to easily blow away an entire section of our cache. So quick break and I'll see you in just a minute.